So welcome to your life group. I am thrilled to see you choosing to stay in community and persevering this semester. Last week, Pastor Phil Tagg gave us a glimpse on where life groups are going this semester. You see, we want life groups to be a place where people can be set free, where you can be set free, where groups come together and it's more than just a hangout, but it's family, where you go out into your community and live free of self, where you can go serve, break the chains that bind people. You can do that together, where you can worship together, where you can live free together, that you're there for each other. That's so important. That's what we want life groups to be. In essence, we want life groups to be a covenant community. And covenant community happens when three components come together: community, communion, and mission. This week, I want to talk about mission. Every single life group is sponsoring at least 2 Hawthorne staff this semester. This is our mission portion of our life groups, and words can't describe what it means to our Hawthorne staff when a life group comes next to them and prays for them, writes cards to them, does just special things. We call it the personal touch. That's an amazing thing that we get to do this semester. Now, there's still some Hawthorne staff that needs some sponsoring, so after this video, talk to your life group leader and ask them, hey, can we take on a third? Maybe even a fourth? There's still some room for more sponsoring this semester. And next week, Pastor Wayne Durong is going to come and speak to us about our Go initiative. That's going to be on March 14th and 15th. So go ahead, grab your calendars, grab your iPad, iPhone, whatever you need to do, smartphone, or write it down and say, hey, I'm going to mark off the calendar March 14th and 15th. And Pastor Wayne's going to come next week and just share more about what's going on either of those dates. We're planning on one group on one day, but for right now, mark off both dates just to be sure, and we'll fill you in next week in this vision portion on what's going on with our Go initiative. Oh, and one more thing. If your group offers childcare, we call those men and women childcare superheroes. Because let's be honest, anyone who's willing to give up 2 hours of their evening to watch over children when they can be doing anything else is a superhero in my eyes. So before they leave tonight, just let them know how much you appreciate them. God bless you guys. Have a great life group tonight. Have an impactful life group. And I'll see you next week for our next VisionCast video. So welcome to your R3 life group. I'm so excited to be back with you guys this semester. If you're new to R3, this is the time where we dive deeper into Sunday's message. This past week, we wrapped up our series on takeout. The title, When the Best Food is No Food. This whole series addresses the topic of developing a healthy spiritual appetite. So how do you do that? How do you hunger and thirst after the right things? So far in this series, we've talked about shifting your appetite, but sometimes the answer is denying it completely. Fasting is a word that may make some of us just scratch our head and wonder what it is. Others may see fasting as someone starving to death. But Pastor Phil put it this way: fasting is not about food, it's all about focus. And Pastor Phil gave us 3 ways that fasting affects focus. First, fasting helps you refocus on God. This is when we get the vertical relationship right. Fasting refocuses the truth that God is in control. The people of Israel forgot this, and the Old Testament gives us story after story of Israel's lost focus on God and letting go of the vertical relationship. The greatest commandment that God gave to His people was to love Him with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength. Fasting gives us the focus to live out this truth. Second, fasting takes the focus off of self. Think of fasting as a reboot from self. Jesus tells us in Matthew 6:16 through 18 how to fast. Christ encourages us not to make fasting obvious to others. You see, when we diet, we like to tell as many people as possible. Our goal is to change the external. But we want to look at fasting as more of a detox, a reboot for your soul. With a focus off of self, we get rid of the toxin of selfishness. Third, fasting helps you focus on others. The prophet Isaiah writes to the people of Israel, "This is the kind of fasting I want. Free those who are wrongly imprisoned. Lighten the burden of those who work for you. Let the oppressed go free and remove the chains that bind people." So fasting frees us from ourselves so we can better help others. It gives us the opportunity to serve and to do what Christ has called us to do. Now it's time to discuss what Sunday's message meant to you. Welcome to the time where we reflect on Sunday's message. This Sunday, Pastor Phil spoke on the book of Isaiah, specifically chapter 58. So I've got a question for you. How does fasting help someone else? I mean, isn't fasting between me and God? Well, yes, but that isn't where God meant it to end. You see, the people of Israel in this chapter did all of the right things. They went to the temple and prayed every single day. They read His word. It says that they bowed down over and over again. They even wore itchy garments of burlap to show that they were fasting. They poured ash all over their bodies. They did all the right things, but they forgot something really important. They forgot about the people. The prophet Isaiah writes what true fasting looks like. Fasting means to free those who are wrongly imprisoned, to lighten the burden of those who work for you, to let the oppressed go free, to remove the chains that bind people, to share your food with the hungry, give shelter to the homeless, give clothes to those who need them, and to not hide yourselves from relatives who need your help. Anyone watching have relatives that they would like to hide from? In-laws maybe? Nah, I'm totally kidding. I love my in-laws, but listen, don't miss out on what God's telling us. Fasting helps us stand for justice, to help those who can't help themselves. And when God calls us to a fast, it starts with Him, but it flows out to others. And when we fast like this, the prophet Isaiah tells us in verse 8 what follows. It says, "Then your salvation will come like the dawn, and your wounds will quickly heal. Your godliness will lead you forward, and the glory of the Lord will protect you from behind." Wow, I want that. Now, what would our culture look like in all of our abundance to give up something we like food, and pour ourselves out to others? You know, I believe we would find a group of people more devoted to God and justice and walk in the healing power of Jesus Christ. Now it's time to turn back to discussion, and I want to challenge you to open your minds and your hearts to what God may say through discussion. Welcome to React. We've talked about what it means to fast and what can keep us from the things that break God's heart. But now this is where the rubber meets the road. It's time for us to actually fast. This Sunday at the Ransom, we were challenged to take a one-day fast on January the 30th. Here is our challenge. Go without food for an entire day. Take the time you would normally eat meals and pray instead. You want to feed yourself with prayer. Do something to serve someone else. This could be a random act of kindness. You know, chances are some of you may be very new to fasting, and that's totally okay. The challenge is for your group to support each other. You're there to encourage, to make sure you can all do this together, to keep each other accountable. That's why you're in a life group, because you can't do life on your own. We can't expect to react without the help of others to keep us accountable. I am so thankful to share this time with you. That's it for your R3. I will see you next week for week 1 of our brand new series, Boiling Point. And in between the week, I have a question for you. How much do you love your coffee? It'll make sense next week.